And we have another 11 o'clock matchup here. But before we get into that, go ahead and subscribe and leave a like if you don't mind. We put a lot of effort into these videos for you guys. Hope you enjoy them. But this game, holy cannolis, a top 10 matchup. Who would have thunk it? Who would have thunk it preseason that we'd be sitting here saying that BYU's undefeated, ranked number 8th in the country. Texas Tech is 8-1, ranked number 9th in the country, and Texas Tech is going to be hosting game day as well as hosting another top 10 team in BYU. But that's what's happening this Saturday. And currently, oh my gosh, dude, this spread. Are you ready for this?
Yeah, hit me with it.
Texas Tech's favored by 10.5, and they have a 60% chance to win according to ESPN.
Yep, I completely agree.
We are some BYU haters, bro.
I'm a BYU. Look. Okay, BYU is the ultimate crappy team that hangs around with teams that are either slightly better than them or on level with them. Texas Tech is better than BYU. Texas Tech is better than everyone in the Big 12, and it's really not close. I know they lost that game on the road to Arizona State with their backup quarterback, and they nearly came back and won it, and just Arizona State put together a crazy drive to end up winning the game. Texas Tech is the team that's going to win the Big 12. They're at home. They're going to bludgeon BYU this weekend. I hate to be that harsh to the Mormons out there. I know you really like your team. You're the ultimate set. I will surrender from now on when we're picking BYU games. They're the ultimate September, October team.
Yep.
But I have not seen them do it in November. And I'm not going to believe that they can do it in November until I see it with my own eyes. All right. Now, I do like the fact that if I'm not mistaken, BYU is coming off a bye while Tech had to go on the road to Kansas State. So that's going to play a little bit in their favor. It makes me tempted to say that they might cover, but I just think this Texas Tech team is destined for really good things. I like, for those of you who haven't been watching Tech that are like a Big Ten guy or an SEC guy and you're not really paying attention, this is a roster that could be.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying they're going to win the national championship. That's not what I'm saying at all. But to just in an opening round game against a team that's already lost 2 or 3 times and has some weaknesses, they could snag you, especially if they get you in Lubbock. And then, like, could you imagine a scenario where Texas backdoors their way in the playoff, has to go to Lubbock?
Mm.
Texas Tech's beating them.
Yeah.
Like, straight up. Like, this team's good. And I think that the respect for Tech is going to start really growing after this weekend when they do unspeakable horrors to the Cougars.
Yeah. We are certified BYU haters here. And listen, you guys in the comments have been right over this year. We've picked against BYU multiple times. And obviously they're undefeated, so we've been wrong. We're not wrong this week. And I would be willing to bet that. Texas Tech, like you said, they've got the whole package: offense, defense, special teams. Heck, they've spent a lot of money on this roster. And we made a joke about, Ohio State spending a lot of money on their roster. Well, look what happened. It ended up netting them a championship. So I'm not saying, like you are, or like you didn't, that Texas Tech's going to win the national championship. However, when you spend the money, sometimes it nets good results. And good results is making the playoffs for a Texas Tech team. Let's just be real. We're not one of these teams that should be competing year in and year out for a playoff spot or a national title. But here they are, ranked in the top 10, hosting another top 10 team. And this is a great resume builder. I don't care if BYU is overrated. I don't care if BYU is not as good as we think they are. Heck, I don't care if they even are. This is a huge moment for Texas Tech to seize the opportunity to prove that they're not just some throwaway team, that, yeah, they're 8-1. They're probably going to win the Big 12, but we'll just let them in the playoffs. No, this is a team that can compete in the playoffs. And I think this is going to be the game where they actually show that. I think they've covered every single spread this year besides their one loss. So I'm looking at that 10.5 number now thinking, man, do they do it again? The
Yes.
only issue here is I think Vegas has picked up on that and has given Texas Tech a little bit more points probably than they would have 2 weeks ago before they covered the 2 games in a row. So my question is not does Texas Tech win because they do, but by how much? It's hard to bet against somebody that's covered the spread week in and week out. However, later in the year, Vegas adjusts. And so I think they win the game, but I think BYU covers the 10.5. And that's no slight to say that they're better or that they're barely better than BYU. That's just a slight that this is a big game in a big environment with game day there. And all eyes are finally on Texas Tech. And I think that they can stand up to the hype. But by how much? That's my question.